Oh, my brothers and sisters and Tim and all the people, we have got some hands that have been caught in a cookie jar. This is going to be great, and I cannot wait to hear what you guys think about this one in the comments field, because it turns out, Tim, I know that no one would see this coming. Corruption, malfeasance, and violating the law in a gun control bill? No.
Nah.
This would never happen. Who would have thought and warned about this?
You don't have
No, I don't. No, I don't. Well, there's some great news. GOA does, and that's what we're going to break down. So, guys, make sure if you're liking this content, you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn the notification bell on. Help us distribute some freedom and expose this type of stuff. But enough of the setup, Tim. This is exciting. This is exciting. I'm excited. Man, This is great.
You just gotta love it when anti-gunners do themselves in.
So good. And by the way, everyone watch. Shout out to GOA, because I mean, like, apparently they had a hand in this, didn't they, Tim?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, like, it's like advocacy groups, when they pay attention and they focus on stuff, they do stuff.
Yeah. Well, there's some good ones, and then there's not some not so good ones.
Exactly. This is incredible. Well, of course, as I mentioned in the introduction, we are going to talk about the Senate, the bipartisan Senate Safer Communities Act. And it turns out they're violating law. So, Tim, with your permission, sir, shall we proceed?
Let's proceed.
Let's proceed. I'm on this. All right. So, number 2, Mr. Producer, let's dive right in. Check this out. Gun Owners of America, or GOA, a Second Amendment group, said it has tracked the grant program and was first to notify Congress of state recipients failing to qualify for funding under the terms of the law. Now, the article says this was weaponized, Tim. They wouldn't. This administration and DOJ wouldn't weaponize something, would they?
No.
They wouldn't.
This is the most transparent, up-and-up administration of all history.
Oh, that's right. They were the most and I think I remember.
Yeah, just listen to
Just
Joe.
ask them.
Yeah.
Just ask them. Okay. Yeah, and I think I remember big, bold actions. I think that was a big thing for like 90 days, wasn't it? Like the first 90 days was like a lot of big, bold innovations and actions and like stuff.
Yeah.
Do you think this is what they were talking about?
Well, they got more stuff here, don't they?
Oh, my God. Let's keep going. I got to bring the people in, Tim. Quote, this is from GOA. We've been closely following this grant program since the passage of Senator Cornyn's gun control last summer. I love what they did there, by the way. And it's turned out to be worse than we feared, said Aidan Johnson, Federal Affairs Director at GOA, in a statement. Despite assurances this money wouldn't bribe states to pass red flag laws, Biden's DOJ granted anti-gun bureaucrats in several pro-gun states funding to enact gun confiscation programs anyway, Tim. And every state with red flag gun confiscation laws on the books received funds despite none of them meeting the apparently worthless due process requirements mandated by the federal legislation. Tim, no.
It just sounds like there's some grift going on.
No. Well, hold on.
Paying people off, and I'm pretty sure there's a law against all of this. Something about corruption.
You know what? Something about that. Let's set camp up for a second. Get a nice little campfire going here. For all the people at home who maybe haven't been following the Senate Bipartisan Safer Communities Act from last year, this thing did about 3 things. 1, provided funding for red flag laws. And we said at the time it was a bribery thing. They were like, no, there's due process in it. Wait for the rest of this video. Then they did funding for mental health and school initiatives, of which Matthew McConaughey decided he needed to do a special initiative because the money by 2026, if not used, will be reallocated. Okay, well, there's 2 strikes. And that third one, Tim, that was the HCF saying that 18 to 20-year-olds automatically qualify for free a 10-day mandatory waiting period on any gun purchase, infringing upon their rights. Yeah. This has been a whole bag of fun, hasn't it?
It has. It was the most comprehensive gun control passed in 30 years.
They weren't lying.
Yeah.
I mean, they were kind of right. It's turned out to be a comprehensive bag of crap. So that's just that stuff. But again, Tim, it's okay because there's due process. Republicans said there's due process, so therefore we're okay, right?
Yeah.
Wrong, Tim. Wrong. See, I knew you were going to say yeah.
Government never does these things. This is just all conspiracy theories.
Yeah. It's not like sitting senators and House members sent letters to the DOJ demanding answers. Oh, wait. Number 3, Mr. Producer. Senator Roger Marshall, Republican Kansas, and Representative Alex Mooney from West Virginia say in a letter to Attorney General Merrick Garland that the Justice Department has handed federal funds to states that did not meet the minimum due process criteria. The letter accuses the Biden administration of ignoring Congress, yeah, they never do that, and demands to know why grants to at least 8 states and territories with no red flag laws on the books nevertheless receive federal funds under the DOJ program. We've got 7 senators and 26 House lawmakers, Tim. This is not small potatoes. That's legitimately a lot of people.
Yep. But, yeah, Merrick Garland, like he's going to do something about it. Joe Biden will just look at the cameras with a blank stare and shuffle off the stage. He doesn't answer any questions that, talk about his corruption. So,
yeah. I mean, it could be a lot worse, though, Tim. He could shake invisible people's hands.
Clench his fist.
He could do a lot of things.
And then just shuffle off stage.
He could do a lot of things. But in a more serious note here, Tim, this is incredibly illegal. I mean, like, this needs to be one of those things. Hunter Biden, Hunter Schmeiden. Did you see what they just did?
Yeah.
Like, holy crap. They're giving money to people who don't have due process protections in a bill that specifically says, in order to get it signed to law, that there have to be due process protections.
Yep. They're just doling out the money. It's, it's political payoffs.
This is insane.
This goes back to what we've talked about before. When these people defy Congress, defy the courts, defy whatever, and they just do what they want, there's nobody holding them accountable. Oh, there might be an investigation opened up, and we'll hear about that for a few days, and then it'll peter out and go away. Nobody ever is held accountable for this stuff. Right. And it just, they got called out on it. Now it's made national news. Maybe it'll peter out and go away, but they're not going to recall those funds, and there's not going to be an investigation. They're not going to do anything about it.
No, I completely agree. Now, I will give some credit, though, and legitimately, just to be fair, the last time we saw letters being fired off like this and initiatives being introduced at the House level was around the pistol brace, the CRA, which would be the Congressional Review Act around the pistol brace rule. That's the last time we saw anything that was kind of unusual, too. Now, it died in the Senate, nothing happened. But legitimately, if we back this out, Tim, and we like to do this a lot on this channel, but I think it's one of the value adds. If we back this out and put another right on this, or anything else outside the Second Amendment, this would not stand. You literally just passed a law saying that the only reason you could pass it, Chris Murphy famously said, those due process protections, they were really driving hard bargain with those negotiations, so he put that in there.
Hard bargains, yes.
Yeah, hard bargains. And now they're just doing the money anyway. Imagine that with free speech. Imagine that with your right against reasonable search and seizures. All these things, it is like, or your voting rights. Like, no, we aren't going to infringe upon anybody, and we aren't going to put polling locations in places that only favor one party, and then they do it anyway with a bill they pass. I mean, that's essentially what they just said.
Yep.
Everything you're afraid of, we won't do that. It's in the law. See? And then they did it anyway.
Yep.
Oh, my God. I mean, you put that in any other context across any other part of our society right now, and you would have a literal firestorm on your hands.
Yep.
But it's the Second Amendment.
Yep.
So
anything that has to do with firearms, they can get away with murder,
It's for safety, Tim.
Yes.
It's common sense.
Just save one
Goodness,
child.
Great. If we could just save one. But then we don't. Oh, we can't talk about that. Yeah, I know. You're all screaming in the comments. Abortion. I know. We know. Let's get it. Let's continue. You know what? We're back on the path here. We had a good camping trip there. Let's get back, because it seems interesting what the language that these legislatures are using, Tim. Mr. Producer number 4. Quote, the Department of Justice appears to have weaponized the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act to illegally fund ineligible red flag laws and bribe pro-gun states into passing gun confiscation laws. Illegally fund ineligible red flag laws. Tim, they're saying openly this is illegal in a congressional document with 7 senators and 26 House members. This has got to go somewhere. Like,
let's just hope it gets stopped, right? Like, they'll stop now that the light of day has been cast upon it. But sometimes they don't. They think that they have the political capital to just do what they want anyway.
They don't have any political capital left right now. Like, they have spent that like drunken set. They spent that like our real money.
Yeah.
They did. But there's more from this letter. There's 2 more quotes which are mind-boggling from this letter. Number 5, Mr. Producer, quote, since the passage of the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, no states have revised their statutes to comply with due process requirements imposed by the 117th Congress, the letter states. Nevertheless, the Bureau of Justice Programs has funded every state that applied with a red flag gun confiscation law on the books without enforcing Congress's due process requirements. The federal government should have no part in funding state-level gun confiscation programs which violate the due process rights of gun owners, or the due process rights of anybody, to be quite honest. But isn't it interesting, Tim, in the way that this letter, like the way it's kind of organized, they're literally going down and say, hey, you did this. And then the next one is, well, that didn't happen. Yeah, you did. Here it is. Here's the evidence.
Yeah.
Well, you don't know about the states. Oh, yeah, here it is. None of them have changed anything. It's literally like a counter. It's a blind counter, if you will.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, they got them dead to rights. It's just what happens next, right?
Yeah.
You just never know with these things. But
I think dead to rights is a good way to say it.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Well, it'll be interesting to see if this peters out. Like I said, one of two things is going to happen. They're either going to just carry on like none of this ever happened and they're going to do what they want anyway, or they're just going to like quietly kill it and hope it kind of goes away because they want to focus on the next election cycle. Who knows? We'll see how much.
Or this comes up and shows up in the next election cycle.
Yeah, could be that too.
It has the potential to do it.
Yeah.
And people watching this program and other channels on YouTube, that's how we get it out. I mean, like if you want to make some noise and want to see some noise, spread this. But I got one more thing. So far, the lawmakers have said, Tim, it's illegal, and they distributed funds to ineligible states. Well, they're up in the ante a little bit in the wrap-up here. Check this out. Disturbingly, several states and territories without red flag laws on the books have been granted funding for the creation and implementation of such programs, including Arizona, Arkansas, Kansas, Minnesota, and West Virginia, the Republicans wrote. It appears that the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act grant program is being used by the federal government to influence states into enacting red flag gun confiscation laws. The lawmakers called it a federal bribery program and demanded that the DOJ explain the lawful purpose of its federal grants to states without red flag laws. This was a perfect letter. Like, explain yourself, sir. You're illegal. You're violating state law. They're ineligible. And now it's a federal bribery program. They didn't hold any punches on these things.
No.
I mean, like, they legit punched it. And they even listed out the states beyond that and the territories. So, Tim, you just tell me which states and territories, which this sounds kind of weird in. Because, again, territories. This is what they said, number 7, Mr. Producer. We, the undersigned members of Congress, demand transparency from the Department of Justice and Office of Justice Programs into how states, territories, and D.C. are receiving funds from this program without having qualifying laws on the books. Please respond to the following questions as soon as possible, but no later than August 18th. Given that Arkansas has no extreme risk protection order law, for what lawful purpose did the Bureau of Justice Assistant award $3,210,628 to Arkansas Department of Finance and Administration for implementing ERPO programs, which is the extreme risk protection orders? And the states that they included it were, like I said, Arizona, Kansas, Minnesota, West Virginia. But the territories, Tim, this is the part that's interesting. Guam, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands. What?
Yeah.
Why?
Those
aren't even states.
I know. Yeah. I mean, they send delegates to Congress and things like that, but yeah.
Yeah, but they're not they're not even states.
No.
Hey, who wants $3 million? Who wants $5 million? You got ERPOs? You want ERPOs? We got ERPOs for sale.
Yeah.
God in heaven.
It's straight up bribery. I mean, they called it out for what it was, but yeah, they're just trying to buy political favor and push these through. Obviously, look at the states they're targeting. You know, these are typically very pro-gun states.
Yeah, isn't it weird?
Yeah.
And the blue state, Tim, the blue states, I didn't see this coming. The blue states got the money without amending their due process requirements. That is that's beyond the pale. It's weird.
Yeah. Well,
if only there were some channels out there saying something about it for like a year. Can you think of any?
No, can't. Not off the top of my head.
Not a one. It's someone should have been on this and said something.
It's so obvious and so predictable, and
God,
they
it's
just
so
continue
bad.
to do it. And
It's so bad.
yeah,
And you know what I love about the way GOA framed this when they said John Cornyn's bill? They didn't even call it Senate Bipartisan Safer Communities Act. They're just like, yeah, it's John Cornyn's fault.
yeah. Just give it to him.
Let's give it to him. We already hate Chris Murphy, and we know he's not going to care. So let's roast John Cornyn a little bit because this has worked out splendidly.
Yeah.
Because I mean, hey, Tim, 2026 is coming, and those funds can be reallocated. You know it.
Yep, and they will be based upon what they're doing here. They'll probably reallocate all sorts of funds. Oh my goodness,
dude! This genuinely has the vibe of like the biggest slush fund operation, couched as "we did something about gun violence" that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
This is insane how bad this is failing and how much of a crap sandwich this is.
Yep. But it will go nowhere
Across
because
the
it's
board.
all about guns, and it'll just get shelved.
Tim, you know what? We're gonna have a side moment, another campfire. You know what I love about the way you're responding right now?
Yeah.
You're responding like a gun tuber who's been doing this for like 15 years, and you're like, oh, did they do that thing? Yeah.
They did it again,
they do
huh?
that.
Yeah. We've seen this before. Yes.
Did they do that? Yeah. Did they call it an assault weapon, or was it a polymer framed porcelain Glock? Yeah, they tried that one too back in the day. That was a fun one.
Yeah.
Weapons of war. Ooh, that's new.
Weapons of mass destruction, files of mass destruction.
It's always the same. It never stops.
No, they don't get tired of it. I mean, they are determined little fellows.
Little.
Don't know.
Yeah. No. I like that. That was very YouTube friendly. I appreciate it. The viewers clearly know what you were thinking. I love it. And that worked out really well. Innuendo is a great tool on YouTube. Those little frisky fellas.
Well, anyway, it'll be interesting to see how this one plays out. I'm going to go with it's just going to get kind of quietly swept under the rug. We shall see. Let us know in the comments what you think is going to happen with this one, because as Braden points out, it's pretty significant. This is no small thing, but here they go again. It's also not a new thing. So if you guys like to be part of our call-in show, there is a link in the video description below. Follow that link and come on the show. We'll have a great conversation. Thank you for watching. We'll talk to you guys soon.